In my high school, at the end of year 7, this is what that is in the US, they took us on a camping trip. This was to a little campsite just outside of Llangollen. And while we were there, we did all sorts of different outside activities. Now these could link to teamwork or being out in the wilderness, and also we even had to bring in our own meals and cook them. I bought in a tin of hot dogs. Now from memory, we were there for 2 days, and on day 2 we went out over the fields. There are quite a lot of fields just on the outskirts of Llangollen, and my god, were there a load of fields that linked into each other just outside of that campsite that we were on. Now the thing is, these fields, they did contain animals. Now these were usually sheep, but on the day that we were doing it, there weren't really any sheep. Now you are allowed to walk through these fields because there are footpaths, but these link into the fields, so you do have to cross the fields. Now I can't remember what the activity was, but we were given an activity and we were split into groups. Now we weren't being supervised by staff members. It was just a group of how many you wanted, and you just went off and you completed the task. So we went off to do the task, and the teachers told us to meet back in half an hour just in a certain spot of the field. We come back and we sit down and we end up having our lunch. Now just part way through having our lunch, I noticed that the teachers are talking in a group. Now they look a bit concerned, and then not long after they come over to us and they say, "Has anyone touched a dead sheep?" They said that one group had gone off and they had found a dead sheep, and some of them in the group, for whatever reason, and don't do this by the way, you could get a serious illness or something, but for some reason they decided to touch the sheep. Now it wasn't one of these situations where the sheep had just died and was lying there like in one piece. The sheep, well, it was open, let's say, because since you're out in the wild, it might have been that foxes had got to it. But for some reason, they had touched the sheep. It must have been a dare between 3 of them to go and touch the sheep. And next thing we know, the people who did it owned up. But unfortunately, they had to go and get a tetanus shot, which wasn't exactly going to be quite pleasant. Also, they had to walk back through all the fields, back to the campsite just to have them, and then come all the way back. And, well, we were pretty far from that campsite. We were about 3 large fields over. The teachers then described to us why you should never touch a dead sheep and all sorts, and to be honest, I don't know what was going through their minds to actually do that. Why is it you would see a dead animal which has its bones out and everything, and you would just think to touch it? So if there's anything to be taken away from this, if you're walking through a field and you see a dead animal, just avoid it. Do not go anywhere near it, and definitely don't touch it.